How to train your mind to attract unlimited wealth. They will call it luck. They will call it coincidence. They will say you were born with something they weren't. But they will never see the nights you went to war with your own doubts, the mornings you woke up with nothing but a vision and a fire in your chest. Wealth does not respond to wishes. It bows only to those who command it with the full force of their mind, focused, relentless, and unshakably clear. You were not born to be average. You were not placed here to survive. You are here to build, to rise, to shape reality into a masterpiece forged by thought and hardened by action. But here's the truth that no one will tell you. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the person who deserves it, by training your mind to think, act, and believe like the person who already owns the fortune. If you can hold the image of your success so vividly that it burns behind your eyelids, if you can discipline your thoughts with the precision of a master craftsman, then wealth will not resist you. It will flow to you with the same certainty that the sun rises, because it has no other choice. This is not about getting rich quick. This is not about some secret shortcut. This is about becoming the kind of person who wealth is magnetized to, because of who you are, what you believe, and how you think. Every fortune started with a thought. Andrew Carnegie had a thought that steel would build the future. Thomas Edison had a thought that darkness could be replaced by light. Henry Ford had a thought that the automobile was not just for the wealthy, but for every man who dared to dream. They trained their minds to obey their vision, to ignore the noise of the world, and follow the music only they could hear. And that is the beginning of wealth. You see, your mind is the command center. It is the soil from which all results grow. If it is filled with fear, doubt, and distraction, then no amount of hustle will save you. But if it is saturated with belief, clarity, and burning desire, then not even 1,000 failures can stop you. Wealth is first created in the unseen. It begins in silence, in solitude. It is born the moment you decide that your life will be something extraordinary. And you back that decision with faith that never bends. But faith alone is not enough. You must think, not loosely, not casually, but deliberately, with discipline, with direction. Most people are like radios tuned to static, picking up every frequency of fear, failure, and mediocrity. They wake up reacting, drifting, surrendering to whatever life throws their way, and then they wonder why wealth avoids them, why nothing changes, why opportunity seems to knock on every door except theirs. The answer is simple. They have never trained their mind, never claimed authority over their own thoughts, never decided with absolute conviction that they would be the one who rises. You must become ruthless in guarding the temple of your mind. You must choose what you let in like a king guards his castle. Because what enters your mind enters your life. Do you fill it with doubt, with gossip, with scarcity? Or do you saturate it with purpose, with vision, with the sound of your future calling your name? The wealthy think differently. They do not look at what is. They look at what could be. They do not ask, can I afford this? They ask, how can I create it? They do not see problems as obstacles. They see them as puzzles waiting to be solved by the sheer force of will. And they do not fear failure. They feed on it. Because failure to them is not defeat, desau. It is data. It is direction. It is refinement. So how do you begin this transformation? You begin by reclaiming your mind. You wake up before the world begins to scream. You find silence before the chaos. You sit with your thoughts, and you decide what kind of life you are building. You do not let the news or the opinions of others or yesterday's failures write today's story. You write it. You author it. You design it like an architect designs a skyscraper, not haphazardly, but with intention. Every morning you rise, you program your mind with clarity. Not I hope I make it, but I will. Not I wish I had more, but I am becoming more. Not someday, but today is the day I move. The wealth you desire is not outside of you. It's waiting on the other side of your discipline. Train your mind to see abundance in the smallest places. Train it to focus when the world tries to distract you. Train it to persist when everyone else folds. You do this daily. Not once, not occasionally, but every single day. Because success is not a destination. It is a rhythm, a pulse, a mental frequency you lock into, and when you do, the world begins to bend. Now listen, you will be tested. Life will throw storms at you. People will doubt you. You will fail more times than you can count. But if your mind is trained, if it is forged in the furnace of faith, discipline, and action, then nothing can break you, and that is when wealth begins to find you. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become the kind of person wealth trusts. Do not be deceived by appearances. The world will show you glitter and gold, fast cars and quick wins, but those are the fruits, not the roots. The roots lie buried in the unseen work, the unglamorous habits, the silent hours where no one is watching and yet you show up anyway. Wealth is a frequency and your mind is the transmitter. You are either tuned to prosperity or you are broadcasting poverty without knowing it. Listen carefully. Scarcity is a virus of the mind. It spreads through words like, I can't, that's too much. People like me don't get that. Every time you say it, even in jest, you reinforce chains you were never meant to wear. But abundance begins with a whisper. A quiet voice that says, there is more. There is enough. There is a way. The greats, they listened to that voice. They followed it through the dark when no one else believed because they knew something. You must now know. The mind that is trained to believe in abundance will always find it. Not because it's easy, but because it is inevitable. Edison failed over 10,000 times to invent the light bulb. Was he delusional? No. He was devoted. He trained his mind to see each failure not as an ending, but as a step forward. That is the mind of wealth. Disney was told he lacked imagination. He was fired, rejected, broke, but he had something most people never even consider. A mental blueprint so vivid, so alive, that he could already walk through the gates of Disneyland in his mind, long before the world caught up. You must do the same. You must build the vision in your mind first. Make it so real, so tangible, that when the world calls you crazy, you smile, because you've already seen the promised land. This is not fantasy. This is mental discipline, mental toughness, mental alignment. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are in agreement, the world begins to bend in your favor. You do not attract wealth by begging it to come. You attract it by becoming undeniable, by becoming so valuable, so clear, so aligned with purpose that the universe has no choice but to respond. That is not philosophy. That is law, like gravity, like time. Clarity is the beginning of power. Until you know exactly what you want, your mind will scatter like dust in the wind. The man who knows what he wants and believes he will have it already holds power the world cannot understand. You must see it in detail. Not I want to be rich. That is noise. You must define it. How much? Doing what? Living where? Waking up to what kind of day? Until your vision is sharp enough to paint, you are walking blindfolded. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Build it so vividly that your mind cannot distinguish between vision and reality. Because once your subconscious accepts it, your body will begin to move in alignment. That is how the wealthy live. They act from the identity of their vision, not their current circumstance. They do not wait for the bank account to rise before they think like an owner, a leader, a creator. They think like that now because wealth is not a result, it is a reflection of your mindset, a reflection of your standards, a reflection of what you tolerate and what you demand of yourself. Raise your standards and watch your results transform. Refuse to speak as if you are broke. Refuse to think in limitations. Refuse to hang around those who poison your mind with doubt and smallness. Environment matters. Your surroundings feed your subconscious more than you know. If you're constantly around people who think small, dream small, and fear risk, you will shrink to fit their comfort, but place yourself among visionaries, among those who stretch you, challenge you, demand more from you, and your mind will rise. The thoughts you think are seeds. Every day you water them with emotion. You feed them with focus. You grow them with repetition. Plant the seeds of wealth. Plant the seeds of abundance. Plant the thoughts that say, I am worthy. I am capable. I am building something that will outlive me. And then get to work. Not just work in the physical world, but mental work. Daily affirmations, daily visualization, daily mental conditioning. This is where most people fail. They set goals, but they don't rewire the mind that created the lack in the first place. You cannot solve scarcity with more hustle alone. You solve it by removing the scarcity software from your operating system. Delete it, uninstall it, and upload the truth. That you are the creator of your reality. That wealth is not outside of you. It is waiting inside your potential. It is waiting for you to believe. You cannot outperform your own self-image. If you see yourself as a struggler, a survivor, a victim, then wealth will never stay, even if it arrives. But if you see yourself as powerful, as a builder, as someone who adds massive value to the world, then wealth will stick to you, like gravity. Because wealth goes where it is welcomed, where it is respected, where it is expected. Now hear me. This isn't about arrogance. This is about alignment. You are not saying, I deserve wealth because I am special. You are saying, I will train my mind to become the person who creates wealth because I have something to offer this world. You do. You have ideas, insights, talents, energy. And the world is starving for people who bring light, not just noise. That is why you must build wealth. Not just for comfort, not just for cars or clothes, but because your wealth is your ability to serve, to create, to expand what's possible for everyone around you. Money is not the root of all evil. Weakness is. Fear is. The absence of purpose is. Money is a magnifier. It only reveals more of who you already are. If you are generous, it amplifies your giving. If you're disciplined, it multiplies your impact. If you are lost, it will only accelerate your collapse. That is why your first fortune must be built in your mind, not your wallet. Because without a trained mind, money will slip through your fingers like sand in a storm. But with a trained mind, every dollar becomes a seed, a soldier marching toward your vision, a tool in the hands of purpose. You must stop thinking like a consumer. The consumer waits, consumes, reacts, but the creator decides, initiates, leads. Train your mind to ask different questions. Not what can I buy, but what can I build? Not how much do I need to get by, but how far can I stretch what I already have? Not what's trending, but what is timeless, valuable, and needed. The consumer mindset chases the illusion of success. The creator mindset generates it. Think of Carnegie. He didn't ask, what can I earn? He asked, what system can I build that produces value for millions? That is a wealth-generating question. And wealth flows to those who solve problems at scale. Your mind must become solution-oriented. Every challenge you face is an invitation, not to retreat, but to rise. Not to wish it were easier, but to ask, what am I being called to become in order to overcome this? Because wealth is not a reward, it is a responsibility. And it only belongs to those who can carry the weight of its power without collapsing under the illusion of ease. You want to be rich? Then stop asking for comfort. Start asking for capacity. Grow your capacity to lead, to learn, to endure, to hold the tension between the vision in your heart and the reality in your hands. That is the space where champions are made. And here's a truth that will separate you from 97% of people. Wealth is boring. It is repetitive. It is made up of small, consistent, almost invisible acts of discipline. It is not in the grand gestures. It's in the choice to read instead of scroll, to invest instead of spend, to act instead of complain. Those who chase the high of motivation without the depth of transformation will never hold lasting wealth. You must fall in love with mastery. Mastery of your thoughts, mastery of your emotions, mastery of your craft. Because when you master something, you become irreplaceable. And the market always pays a premium for the irreplaceable. But here's where most people break. They want it now. They want the result without the roots. They want the glory without the grind. You will not be that person. You will be the one who understands. Wealth moves toward those who can delay gratification, who can say no to now because they see what's coming. Discipline is not punishment. It is preparation. Every day you choose structure over chaos. Every time you rein in your impulses and focus on what matters, you are tuning your mind to the wealth frequency. And let's be clear. This isn't about deprivation. This is about creation. Because when your mind is trained, you no longer need external validation to feel powerful. You no longer need to show off. You show up. You no longer seek permission. You move with conviction. That's the difference between those who dabble and those who dominate. It's not talent. It's not background. It's not luck. It's mindset. Your mind is either working for you or against you. There is no neutral ground. So, how do you turn it into your greatest asset? You program it, like software. You feed it wealth thoughts. You repeat them until they feel like truth. You visualize your goals until they are so familiar that failure feels foreign. You surround yourself with people who think bigger, who live on purpose, who do not fear success. They expect it. You remove distractions like a surgeon removes cancer. No compromise, no apology. Because you are building an empire, and empires are not built by people who entertain every distraction. Your focus is your fortune. Guard it like gold. You must also train your emotions, because the journey to wealth will not be smooth. There will be droughts. There will be detours. There will be days where nothing works, and your mind will beg you to quit. This is where emotional resilience separates the broke from the bold. You must learn to act independently of your feelings. You must learn to keep the promise you made to yourself long after the mood you made it in has passed. The mind trained for wealth does not depend on motivation. It depends on decision. It moves with intention. It does not negotiate with weakness. And when the storm comes, and it will, you must remember this. You are not the storm. You are the force that walks through it. With every setback, you get sharper. With every failure, you gain feedback. With every rejection, you refine your edge. This is how the wealthy think. They do not fear loss. They use it. They do not run from adversity. They rise through it because they know something most people never realize. The fire that burns your excuses is the same fire that forges your fortune. Now comes the turning point, because none of this matters, not the knowledge, not the books, not the motivation, unless you decide. Unless you cross the invisible line between I want and I will. Desire alone is not enough. Desire is a spark, but decision is the fire. There comes a moment in every life when you must stop dipping your toe in the water and plunge fully, without a guarantee, without a map, with only a vision, a backbone. and a reason that burns louder than every doubt. The universe does not respond to hesitation. It responds to boldness, to clarity, to unwavering faith backed by relentless action. Think of Ford. When he was told the V8 engine was impossible, he didn't say, maybe they're right. He said, build it anyway. And when the engineers said it couldn't be done, he said, keep working. I don't care how long it takes. Because his mind was made up, his vision was non-negotiable, and reality bent to the power of his belief. That is how wealth is born, not by waiting for conditions to be perfect, but by commanding imperfect conditions to obey a perfect vision. You do not need more time. You do not need more credentials. You do not need more approval. You need more conviction, the kind that cannot be faked. The kind that drips from your voice when you speak your vision aloud, even when your bank account says otherwise. The kind that moves mountains and because you refuse to be moved. Train your mind to become immune to rejection, to failure, to the noise of the world. Because the world will test your resolve. It will throw distractions, delays, doubt disguised as logic. But your trained mind, it will not flinch. Because you've seen the other side. You've seen what's possible when a human being finally steps into their full power and refuses to settle for a life of quiet desperation. You must kill the version of you that hesitates, that second guesses, that waits for the stars to align. Kill that version, bury it deep, and rise with new thoughts, new standards, new rules. The wealthy play by different rules because they operate from a different paradigm. They don't ask, is it possible? They ask, how do I make it inevitable? They don't need guarantees because they are the guarantee. Their mind is trained to expect success, to adapt when necessary, to pivot when needed, but to never retreat. This is how you train your mind to attract unlimited wealth. You align it with truth. You feed it with vision. You discipline it with action. You stretch it with purpose. And you guard it with everything you have. No one can do it for you. But once you make the decision, once you step fully into your power, everything changes. Because wealth is not a number. It's not a lifestyle. It's a state of being. It is how you walk, how you think, how you respond to chaos, to opportunity, to failure, to victory. It is who you become in the process of creating it. And when you become the person who thinks, moves, and acts in harmony with abundance, the world will reflect that. Doors will open, resources will appear. People will show up, not because of luck, but because you are now a magnet, a force, an undeniable presence that cannot be ignored. So stop chasing, start attracting, stand tall, clear your mind, lock in your vision, move with purpose, speak with power, work like your life depends on it, because it does. This isn't a game. This is the rest of your life. You are one decision away from stepping into the rare air where wealth becomes normal, effort becomes joy, purpose becomes profit, and life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. Train your mind and the rest will follow. Because once your mind is wealthy, the world has no choice but to catch up. You must keep in mind the following. Repetition is the sculptor of your destiny. You will not become what you visualize once. You will become what you visualize consistently, daily, obsessively, until your brain starts adjusting your behaviors, your standards, your environment to match that inner self-image. That's not magic. That's biology. So listen this lesson again and again and again until it gets installed in your brain and in your subconscious mind, until you realize the results you seek.